Hey replay viewers and everyone else who's joining me today. Awesome adulting, awesome adulthood. Take two. Let's talk a little more about yesterday's concept. I hope you're joining me live. I'm looking forward to seeing all of you. Hey Chantel and Tristan. Hi Hannah. Welcome. Excited to talk to you. Here we go. All right. Can everybody see everything? Let's see. Gosh, I get it set up in advance and then Periscope baffles the mind. So I'm going to make some adjustments. Hey, from Arizona. Hi there. Hey, I'm glad you can see me, but I can't see what I want to see. So we're going to fix that a little bit. Okay, how's that? Let's come down a little. Hey, Daniela. Hi, it's great to see everybody. Let's see. Oh, it's all fitting now. Okay, good. It's a little bit crooked. Let's straighten that out. Okay. Hey, Khadijah. Nice to see you. Christy. Oh, good. Hi. Hi, Hannah from the Alliance. Karen from Manitoba. Please tell me if you're in the Alliance. I'll make a special hello. Hey, Sweet Tea. Thanks for inviting followers. Thank you, Alexandra, for inviting followers. If you'd like to do likewise, you know the drill. Swipe to the right on the iPhone and up on your Android, and then tap the share button. Hi, Marnie from Homeschool Alliance, and Christy and Rebecca. And there's a Rebecca from DC too. Allison, we would love to have you in the Alliance. Wonderful. We'll get there. 1 month at a time. Hi, Amy from the Alliance. Oh, look how many of you are here. It's great to see you. Hey, Raquel and Lucia. Wonderful. And from Ohio, first live one you've made. Well, welcome. Glad to have you. Hi, Jenny. Hi, Audrey and Emma. Oh, it's great to see so many of you. It's totally fine if you're not in the Alliance too. I just like to make sure I say a special hello since I spend so much time with all those women. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm Julie Bogart from BraveWriter, and I'm also the creator of a homeschool coaching group called the Homeschool Alliance. And to learn more about it, you can go to CoachJulieBogart.com. Every month we get together all through the month, but once a month I post new information to discuss. I do podcasts that deal with that subject matter, and I help parents feel more successful as home educators. We measure progress in ways that actually work, not just by grade level, not just by scope and sequence. Aw, thank you so much. It's so great to have you guys. You guys are sweethearts. I'm really happy to be here today. Yesterday we did this massive video shoot here in my house, 12 hours. We started at 8 in the morning and didn't finish until after 8 p.m. I was a complete dish rag by the end. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a while, and we finally have the resources to do it. These will be videos that I will share about later, but it was super fun, and one of the features of what we did yesterday is this big give back to the community. And you'll see what I mean coming in the new year sometime. So we're working on it one brick at a time, and then when we roll out this surprise, you'll understand what we did yesterday. So thank you for hopping on and being with me when we did a little bit of periscoping. Excuse me, that was fun. What we talked about 2 days ago, though, was this. Awesome adulthood. Awesome adulthood. And you know what happened? Firestorm of discussion on the Alliance, in our Bravescopes community on Facebook. For those of you who don't know about it yet, you might want to join facebook.com/group/Bravescopes, totally free. We talk about my Periscopes. We get to know each other. There are so many new scoping homeschoolers in that group, and you'll learn scads of very useful things from all of them that are practical because they're still in the trenches. I'm an alum. I'm sharing from memory. These are people sharing in today's reality. So if you want to join, please come and talk with us. But here's what happened. Everyone had opinions. Oh, yes, that's right. And Christy Thomas started a book club for adult discussion, which I think is fabulous. But here's what happened. In the wake of my Periscope about being an awesome adult, all kinds of discussion erupted. What if I don't feel like an awesome person? What if I'm not an extrovert? What if I'm happy already in my life? Do I have to add something else? What if I'm not the kind of person who wants to do anything more than be a mother? Am I suddenly not okay? Another question. I've got all these children in the house and all these responsibilities. Are you asking me to think of one more thing I have to add to my life to prove I'm okay? Did any of you think of those questions in the last 2 days? How many of you have been wondering, is this just one more burden Julie's assigning me? Here I thought she understood me, she understood my struggles, she was trying to support me, and now bam, out of nowhere, she just downloaded on my head one more thing to do, and I don't have the energy or the desire. Does that mean I'm somehow out of sync, or is Julie just out to lunch? Anybody else? Yeah, so there's a mixture here. Good. Bethany says she was the instigator. Yes. Oh, someone who's married to a French husband decided to take French lessons. I highly recommend that. Yes. Good. Good, good, good. Not a burden, but I do want to be an awesome adult, and it's hard work. No, I loved it. Okay, so we've got a mixture, and that's exactly what I discovered on the scope. Of course, immediately, because I'm the kind of person who wants to connect so badly and wants you to feel understood, my heart split in about 10 pieces, and I was like, no, this was supposed to be liberation. This was supposed to be freedom. It was not supposed to be, well, if you don't have a full-fledged hobby, you're not as good of a homeschool mom, and your children won't have a good vision for their adult lives, and it's all a failure from here on out, okay? That is sort of the fear that I had, that you were taking from my comments, that if you were satisfied, loving life, fully invested in homeschool, that somehow you weren't doing enough. All right, let's back away from that vision and let's talk about it a little differently, okay? And let me see if I can help you out just a little bit as we think about this. So one of the things that I found challenging in dealing with this topic is that ages and stages are a huge part of what we are dealing with here. Not everybody feels like they're in a position to add anything to their lives, let alone some awesome passion, hobby, career choice. If you have babies and children under 5 years old, your primary job is to take care of them. And your enriching self-education looks like becoming skilled at mothering and managing a house and having a good relationship with the father and figuring out budgets and thinking about establishing family traditions. That's your learning curve. That's what you're doing. That is the educational journey for you during that stage of life. And if during that stage of life you decide, I want to use spices more effectively in my cooking, or it would be really cool if I learned how to use a sewing machine, so I'm going to quilt, or I really just want to read books while I'm breastfeeding the baby. That's all the energy I have. That's perfect. My hope is that when you're in that very early stage with your babies, with your toddlers, with your young children before the homeschooling task hits, is that you will give yourself permission to become effective, to understand what you're doing, to care about that job. It's a huge responsibility. You are going to be a mother for the next at least 18 years with one child, and many, many more if you have more children. So there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not suggesting that you take on a part-time job while you're doing all of that. That's not it. When your kids get to the point where you've got kids who are sort of school age, and you may still have some babies, but now you've got kids that need a home education, what's your primary self-educating focus going to be? Becoming a career home educator. Very worthwhile. There are women everywhere, and men, whose full careers, professions, are school teachers in a school district or professors at a university. That's a career, so is home education. Here's what I want to point out though. Career educators, they have preparation periods every day. You know that? If there's a 7-hour class period at school, they get 1 period off a day to do prep, to clear their minds, look at what they're doing, and prepare without students. Guess what they do when they go home? They're without students. Guess what they do in the summer? They're not with their students. Professors take sabbaticals, a whole semester off at times, just to do research, to refuel, to think, to go to conferences. Yes, they also have sick days. Absolutely. What do home educators never get? What do they never get? A break, right? Do you hear me? Home educators are on all the time because they've got small children to raise. So you are educating and you are raising children simultaneously. You know what happens to too many of us? We get burned out, we're worried, we get depressed, we feel inadequate, we have no source of input that is helping us feel encouraged and empowered. We blame ourselves whenever something goes wrong. And so you know what happens? What happens? What happens? Isolation, that's right. There's no teacher's lounge, although that's a little bit what I hope the Homeschool Alliance is, a teacher's lounge, right? You know what I'm talking about. These women, these men, you guys call me and you complain to each other and you write in your journals. The joy dissipates, and the more you devote to the home education task, sometimes the more burned out you get. You start to feel like your whole life is consumed with an unattainable task. And you know what that task is? You're not just thinking like a teacher does. A teacher, for example, today, I just submitted the final grades for my Xavier students. So I graded all their essays. I went in and entered them all in our online grade book. Then I calculated the percentages across the whole semester. And then I opened up a tab and I entered the grades for each student. At the bottom, I hit submit. I will never see these kids again. The rest of their education is on someone else's shoulders. And their success or failure doesn't have anything to do with how I feel about myself. In fact, it's a guarantee that I feel fine about myself because I know how to teach that class. And I could tell by reading their papers that they understood what I meant for them to understand by and large. And the few who didn't, it wasn't because I didn't do a good job. But what about your children? You are teaching on the one hand, and then you're also raising them on the other. You're thinking to yourself, well, I need to make sure she has good spending habits, and he's got to be a compassionate person, and she's got to listen to her dad, and he's got to learn how to do yard work. Like, there are so many dimensions to the responsibility that you become all bundled up like a ball of yarn, you know, just a tangle of yarn or thread. And you can't remember that you aren't the center of that tangle. This is what saps you of your joy. This is what makes you feel like you aren't doing a good job. Do you understand? Everything that your kids do is a referendum on whether or not you are a successful human being and adult. That's what plunges parents into this homeschool burnout syndrome. Not only is it just that teaching is exhausting and you never get a break, but it's also that your identity is tied up in the outcome of how your children perform as adults, getting into college, going to a job. That's the problem. So when I talk about awesome adulting, here's what I see going on in families. And I speak from not just my own experience, although I have a lot of it, but I talk to you guys. Like, I get hundreds of phone calls every couple of months. Like, in a week's time, I might talk to 10 different parents. And one of the common themes that comes through in these phone calls is discouragement, disillusionment, the feeling of, I don't know if I'm doing it right, and I'm exhausted, and I'm not sure that this method or that method is going to produce the results that I really long to see. You know, you don't just pass your fifth grader on to the sixth grade teacher. You're the teacher from kindergarten through senior year of high school, if you choose to do it the whole way. So what have you got? You've got this feeling of ultimate responsibility. If there's a fail somewhere, you can't really point to the karate teacher, right? You're thinking, uh-oh, it must be me. And that's not a good feeling. So one of the things that happens when you feel like you're failing, or you feel discouraged or alone or isolated or depressed, or you've lost your joy, you know what happens? Your kids see that. They see that. And they will reflect it back to you like a mirror. That's the problem. So some of the dynamics you have going on in your family can be that you're not happy and everyone knows it, even if you do your best to cover it up. They can feel it. They know when what you're doing is a strain and a drain on you, and you're right on that edge of losing it. They do. And so it's difficult to home educate when you don't have a full tank, when you don't feel like the kind of person you're happy to be. And what happens is it snowballs. So you're discouraged, you're down, you're trying really hard, and then all of a sudden you're getting back kids who aren't excited about homeschool, kids who are reluctant, resistant, irritated, frustrated, and that adds to what? Your sense of failure. And pretty soon, being an adult just feels like a grind. Being a parent feels like punishment. It doesn't feel joyful. It doesn't remind you of that moment of innocence and optimism you had when that baby was born. You know, where you just imagined this intimacy I'm creating with this little person that cuddles in my nap and snuggles his curly hair under my chin. That disappears. And in its place is tension and the feeling of alienation that you never thought would happen, especially if you choose homeschool, where you think it will just be this, you know, continuous sense of intimacy and connection. Before I talk about the answer to that and what I mean by this awesome adulting, someone called it that on the Alliance, and I just thought it was awesome. Tell me if I'm describing you. I just want to see like a 1 or a thumbs up if you are that person, that right now you're feeling sort of at the bottom, you know, out of energy, and you're getting back from your kids some mirroring of that experience. Okay, we've got yes. Oh, yes. A thumbs up. Good. Nailing it. Okay. Yep. Are you all watching how many are scrolling up saying yes? They're doing lots of ones. Less than September, but still. No, but this is helpful for the local group I run. Yeah, if you run a homeschool group, you've heard all of this. You know. Sometimes, yes, it comes and goes. Yes, but I'm used to that in the winter months. The winter months, yes, a different feel. I didn't realize they were mirroring me. Yeah, okay, good. So many of you are experiencing this. Yeah, winter months can absolutely be the worst. Sun deprivation, don't get outside and play as much. Makes me teary to see we are all feeling this, right? Right? Should it be this way? It should not. It should not. I don't like using the word should because I want us to deal with the real. That's one of my catchphrases. Deal with the real. Take an emotional selfie and see what's true. Don't pretend it away. Don't put on, you know, your special face that you use to hide pain. That doesn't help anyone get anywhere. You know, our tagline is live honestly. So let's start with that. But what I want to say is start by recognizing that if you've made your well-being dependent on how somebody else is doing, you are no longer master of your own soul, of your own well-being. You have now taken this personhood that is yours and you've relocated it into your children. And sometimes we do that because we're trying to get approval, either from a spouse, parents-in-law, the local school district, your best friend and neighbor, your sister who didn't homeschool. So you sort of put yourself out there. This is what we do when we have children. And we relocate ourselves in our children. And then we start to get anxious when they aren't mirroring back to us the image we want to see. Yeah, someone said it sounds like codependency. Yeah. Yep. Except that here's the crazy part. Codependency is usually tied to something pathological, right? Like a drinker or an abusive spouse or a gambler or somebody who's doing something really terrible. Your kids aren't doing anything terrible. They're being children. So it's not the same kind of codependency. It's this feeling of I'm making a big investment and the outcome is out of my control. And that's what's creating this anxiety. Because when they're babies and little, it's so much more in your control. All right, so we've all established that we understand this experience and we know what it is. So part of the remedy is what I called 2 days ago, keeping your foot in the door. The door doesn't have to be a passion. It doesn't have to be a career objective. It is staying connected to the you that is you before you were a we. I'm going to say that again. It is staying connected to the you that is you before the you became a we. Whether that was through marriage or having children or both. There is a you that predates all of this dispersal of self into these very worthy people, the people you would lay your life down for, honestly, the people who are more important to you than even your own self. But there is a you. It's that girl. I'm just going to talk to women because I assume that's who's here, but it can be true about men too. It's that girl that you remember. I want you to go back to her. Who was she at 10? Who was she? What were you about? Think back to your private thoughts, to the thing you loved doing. I love hula hoop and do it every day because I feel so happy when I hula hoop. Okay, this is like my favorite comment I've read all day. That is such a truth bomb. So adorable. That I love that. Because what she's admitting is that girl is still alive. Yeah, no, I don't ever want to go back to her. Okay, I don't know what that's about because there's something there that's painful and possibly from damage. And so if it's true that that's there, then you get to discover the you now. You can let her go and you can actually take charge right now of who you are and discover what you love about you now. It's not so much that the child version is necessarily a better version. It's more that it's when it was just you. You only had to be responsible for you. You know, remember that feeling at 18 even, where you go off to college or you leave home and you suddenly realize, I can stay up late. I can eat the whole box of granola, you know, like it's that because you just need a little piece of it. You don't need all of it. I don't want you to displace homeschool. My gosh, I'm all about homeschool. You know that. I'm all about the stay-at-home mom thing. It's my favorite thing I've ever done. So I'm not saying that in opposition to that, you need something better or different. You just need to retain that piece of you that gets to express herself now in adulthood. So when we talk about awesome adulting, if the word awesome conjures up for you, you know, hikes up Mount Whitney, that's great. But if that sounds like not you, then change the word. It just happens to be alliterative. And you know me with alliteration. So maybe it's happy adult. Maybe it is meaningful adult. Maybe it is just adult. Adult. Something that is for you. And when you think about it, doesn't have to take up a big chunk of your life right now. But you deserve prep time, a summer break, a sabbatical, and yet you can't take them. You can't. You have children full time. So you need mini vacations. And the kinds of vacations you can take for yourself are not, you know, extravagant when you have children living at home. You can't do these epic trips when you've got kids at home. I wouldn't even go speak at conventions when I had children at home. Now, a lot of home educators who run businesses do. I wouldn't do it. So do you get that? There was over a decade of my life where I never did anything, really. I didn't go anywhere alone. I was at home. But I kept my foot in the door. And so here's how I did it. And here are some things I want you to think about. So when we were doing homeschool, if a subject area piqued my interest and I thought, oh, this is something my kids should learn. And so we would start down that path to learn it and they lost interest, but I hadn't lost interest, guess what I did? I kept going. I didn't blame them. I didn't shame them. I simply recognized that my brain cells got tweaked. I woke up a little bit to something I didn't really pay attention to in college or my own education growing up. And this was my chance to go one step further, right? So I've shared this many times, but it's an easy one as an example because it was my first wake-up moment. We were studying Native Americans. My kids were only so interested, but I was interested. So I redrew all of North America, the continent, into the Native American tribes. I had us build little teepees and Navajo rugs, and I would rush my kids to bed for the after-lunch nap so I could read adult books about the Battle of Little Bighorn. That's what I did. I did that for me. I wasn't mad that my kids weren't more into it. But you know what? Because I was interested in it, they did benefit more because it came up in conversation and I found myself interested politically in what was happening to Native Americans. And these conversations happened in their presence while we sat at the dinner table, when I talked with their dad. Do you understand? Right, you checked out Viking books for yourself. Exactly. I remember, this will crack you up because I bet this has happened to you. One night, there was a group of us, I think 4 couples that went to some kind of dinner. I think it was at a church, so there was activities for kids, but the adults all got to sit at a table together. So there were like 4 couples, 4 homeschooling moms, 4 married husbands to these mothers. And we all sat down, you know, husband, wife, husband, wife, husband, wife, in a circle. And all of a sudden, we all started talking about ancient Egypt. And we started just literally talking about pyramid construction and embalming techniques and like the history of Egypt. And the men were like over there talking about, you know, sports or something. And at one moment, one of the men turned because he could overhear us. We were like shouting across the table and the men were in between us. And one of them said, wait a minute, are you homeschooling for your kids or for you? And we all cracked up. And that's when I realized home education is a re-education for mothers. This is one of the reasons we get so sucked into it. It is so super cool to be educated at that adult age, in your 30s, in your 40s. So what I want you to remember is this. You will be involved in the task and you will drop down into the hard work of your kids. But part of what you can give yourself, one of the gifts you can give yourself, is allowing that educational journey to benefit you, to be a part of you, to be something you pursue in a pocket of time, or, like I've often said, smack dab in the middle of the day in front of your kids. I did art study because of Charlotte Mason right in the middle of my living room using the middle of the day. And we just did that for a while. And my kids happened to be around while it was going on. Why don't we do this? We don't do this because if our focus is always on educating the kids, we discount our own interests, or we can't get at our interests unless we make our kids interested because we would feel guilty for doing it. So we try to rope our kids into our interests so we can keep pursuing them. It's like a tug of war. I say, go ahead, do the home education thing. You know what to do. And then at the same time, give yourself permission to let that journey catalyze your own gray matter, stimulate your brain, make you feel like a thoughtful, smart adult woman. Now, I saw a question on there that said, what if you're not curious about anything? So that's a little startling for me to think about because I'm a very curious person. But I guess I would invite you to simply meditate on the idea of curiosity. Why is the first thing that comes up that you're not curious? I mean, you're on this Periscope. My thought is you had some kind of curiosity that provoked interest in being on this scope. My thought is, if you're a home educator, you are curious enough about education and your children to want to learn about that. So maybe start tiny. I said this on the Facebook group yesterday. Start tiny. Look in the refrigerator, and if there are 2 kinds of yogurt, ask yourself, which one do I want? And actually eat the one you want. And if the one you want isn't there, go buy it and eat it. Put into your day choices that make you happy every day. One choice. Maybe for those of you who are so conditioned to be servants all the time, you can only handle doing one nice thing for yourself a day. But just do something that reminds you, I have choices. I have value. I have wants. And they're okay. Because the more that you allow yourself to desire and be open and okay with that, the more your kids have permission to do that. And here we say things like, I want my child to follow a passion, and yet you don't know the journey of cultivating a passion. It's difficult, right? But you can live that around your kids, and they can start to get a feel for what that looks like. When I said being an awesome adult benefits your kids, it's because it helps them see the future. It's not just about, oh, childhood's the only time that you can have fun. You ought to take advantage of it. It's being a child is great. Being a teen is amazing. Being a young adult is so cool. Being a mature adult is awesome. Like that. Like each stage has its amazing properties. And that's what we're looking for. We want to cultivate enthusiasm around the benefits of each stage of life. I share so much about my mom. I'm going to give you one more example about her. So she's at a stage where she's widowed. Her husband died last year. And she scheduled for herself a cruise in Europe after he died because she didn't want to stop living. And that's what I'm talking about. It's taking some steps to remember that you deserve a happy life as a person, that as an adult you have powers you didn't used to have and it's okay to use them, and that you can use your brain, your creativity, your curiosity, and some real time to cultivate that part of you. Okay? Just a little tiny thing. Baby steps. But I don't want this to be a burden. It shouldn't be a burden. It's supposed to be liberating. It's supposed to be liberating. If it isn't liberating, don't do it. And if you love being a stay-at-home mom, home educating your children, and you are just rich with joy and curiosity and fun, you're doing it. I'm not asking you to add something more. You're doing it. Now, for some of you, when I talked about having a career, part-time life, or adding in some passion, that's for those of you who have those things, and you wish you were doing them. Hello, permission given. Permission given. That's all. That's all. This is not a burden. I find adulting hard too. Of course. Oh my gosh, it's the hardest. It's the hardest. You're negotiating relationships. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm in my 50s now. And in my 30s and 40s, I still didn't really feel like a grown-up. Do you know, you look around, you're like, everybody else has like grown-up furniture. I don't have grown-up furniture. I like really still don't, actually. But you know what I mean? Like you look around, you're like, did I make it? Am I an adult yet? And then someday you're going to wake up and it'll kind of make sense to you. It'll kind of make sense to you. Yes, you still feel 23 or you feel 10 or you feel 12. You look at your friends and you're like, they bought a house and their furniture isn't from IKEA. When am I going to be that girl? Right? Like, do you feel that way? Oh my gosh, I have felt that way so many times. So many times. Well, guess what? I'm here to tell you that's what adulthood is. That's what it looks like. Because you're just growing up. Some of it is limited finances. Some of it's limited experience. It just is. Adulthood is that. You don't lose that young person. That's why I said, think back to who you are at 10 or 20. And remember her. She's cool. She's awesome. I feel like I'm 20 until I hang out with a 20-year-old. I like that. Let's see. Yay for new clothes. Yeah. You know what's weird? It was really weird for me during the election year when Obama was running the first time. He was 48. He and I were both born in 1961. And I remember thinking, man, that guy has gotten a lot done in his 48 years. Like, how do people grow these sizable corporations by age 50, right? Like, that blew me away. Or run for president. Like, that's incredible. But it suddenly struck me that people my age were running the world. Like, all the world leaders were in my age group. It's a really weird feeling. And I'm in that stage now. I'm like in my 50s, and that's who runs everything in the world. Like, our generation right now runs everything. And I think when I realized that is when I finally felt like an adult. And so part of it is the 30s and 40s are like being a teenage adult. You know, you're just figuring it out. You're still like, am I going to really get there? And I'm here to tell you it's inevitable. You can't even avoid it if you wanted to. So in the meantime, be in training for those years when your kids are grown and you're running the world, and keep your foot in the door and think about how you can create for yourself mini vacations. Maybe just in your mind. Maybe it's that homeschool discussion board or the alliance where you get to think on a deeper level and just use your gray matter in a way that you don't get to with children. Maybe it's taking a quilting class or going on ski trips and using your body more fully. You know, we had the opportunity with our homeschool group to go skiing on Wednesdays in February. Now, when we first moved here, we couldn't even afford that. By the time we did it, I only had 2 kids, so it was easier to afford it. And it was like this big thrill. It reminded me of skiing in college. I hadn't skied since college. So maybe it's even just something totally frivolous, not about saving the world or making a big indentation in it. It's just taking advantage of being an adult while you are one, doing it consciously. Running the world, that sounds daunting, doesn't it? I mean, I have respect for these leaders, these politicians. It's like, whoa. I find this plenty of responsibility, but I'm already doing. Now, some people asked me before about graduate school, and I just wanted to throw that out again in case you missed it the first time. I think it's really fun to do graduate school in adulthood. I like the fact that you've lived a little. School is actually easier in your 40s in a lot of ways. You're actually smarter. You don't realize you just naturally kind of got smarter over 20 years of adulthood. So if that's you and you're nervous about it, I just want to tell you, go for it. Take a class at a time. Do it online. Or do those wonderful MOOCs. What are those? Those Coursera type courses. And just, you know, or take some of the Oprah ones that are out there. Like, use your brain. Enjoy being a student. Let someone else prepare lessons for you. You will get the benefit, and you will also think about how you teach in a new way with your kids. Yeah. So anything else? I'm ready for questions. I'm going to take a look at the time here. Oh, we're doing great. Yeah, or even undergrad. Oh, yes. One of my, someone said the homeschool masterclass. Exactly. It's like grad school. That's how I treat it. I treat it like grad school for homeschoolers. Yes, exactly. And you're using your gifts at home. You have a master's, you're thinking of a PhD. Wow, good for you. This is how long I thought about a PhD. Oh, 4 languages? Yeah, not doing it. I love language, but oh my gosh, that was more than I wanted. Yeah, you know, my bucket list was to teach at the college level. I always wanted to do that. Now I've done it. I've gotten to be an adjunct professor. It's like dipping my toe in it. I didn't have to get the PhD and join a faculty to experience one of those things I always wanted to do. That's the kind of thing I want you to think about. Try not to limit yourself, right? Give yourself permission to have a future, not just the immediate present. Thanks for all those hearts, especially that brown person tapping away. Thank you so much. And the yellow and the pink, the blue, thank you. You want to teach college math? Oh my gosh, I wish you would. You know what's cool? Homeschoolers bring a totally different sensibility to the classroom, and those students are lucky to have us. Let me tell you that. Yeah, you should. Master's level allows you to teach adjunct. Now, adjuncts don't get paid very well, so you can't do it for the money. But it's certainly a very satisfying and rewarding experience if that's something that's on your list. So what are some things now that you're thinking about? We've had a couple days. What are some ways that you can take the brain vacation or enhance your curiosity or simply grow a little bit? Yeah, no teaching is for the money, no kidding. I'm getting blown out by my light. I'm going to fix it a little. Okay, I think that helps. Yeah, that helps. Okay, so give me some ideas. What are you thinking about? We've talked now a little bit about these things. You've been talking to your local CC about tutoring, writing in adult ed. That'd be fabulous. Anna Karenina! Oh, I read that during my reading renaissance. Love taking my kids to the theater. Fabulous. You joined a volleyball team. Okay, now see, dang you. That is something I have wanted to do forever. Now you're making me want to do it. I have a baby, so I have to keep it small. Okay, Chantel, what is it? What is the tiny thing? Is it your favorite flavor of yogurt? Okay, tap dance lessons. Fabulous. Sneaking away for an hour. Definitely. Coursera courses. Wonderful. You're a pianist and a piano teacher. Oh, yes, you should play the ones from college. Hapkido, I don't know what that is. That's cool. My husband is a GE teacher and says they need help. I'm sure they do. You want to get certified to teach Piyo. You know what? I want to do Piyo. I finally saw some and I realized how cool it was. Yoga on Mondays. Total fan of yoga. Kickboxing. Wonderful. Kickboxing. Wonderful. Piano lessons and yoga. You want to go to the library once a week. You know what? My husband did that for me. I went to the library once a week alone. It's life-changing. Silence is so wonderful when you have children. Just knowing there's enforced silence around you is awesome. NaNoWriMo, grad school burned you out. Now you want your passion for reading and writing. Yep. Reading Jane Austen, donating art to the OB clinic. Wow! Reading a book, cooking something new, journaling. Perfect. Perfect. Husband comes home and takes them out most evenings. Wow, that's perfect. Book club is great. Piyo is Pilates and yoga combined. I think it's Shalene Johnson who started that term, and she has a whole bunch of exercise videos. But it looks really cool. Like it's strength and beauty kind of thing. Yeah, very good. Took up the long sword. Holy smokes. You guys, look at all of this. This is incredible. What a range. Establish routines. Great. Great. Audiobooks. Yeah, audiobooks are perfect. I used to listen to them while I made dinner. Every night my kids would watch TV and I would listen to audiobooks while I made dinner. No guilt here, not a bit. Last year I bought expert Legos to put together. Oh, that's really cool. Archery is cool. See, you guys know. You know what I mean. You know what I mean. Reading all the Newbery novels. Exactly. So keep some part of you alive, because that's the part of you that's going to make the adult contribution beyond your family. Whether it's out in the world teaching, or through conversations online, or through the people that you engage with. Stitching, embroidery, wonderful. Listening to me, well, that works, right? I used to listen to talk radio all the time too. That's right. So what you want to do then is recognize that you are an adult, not just a parent, not just an educator. And you have unique talents, abilities, curiosities, and desires. You deserve to feel and express those. And there is a contribution that you're making to the world that is not just dependent on your kids. They're going to be your biggest achievement. Of course they are. Who doesn't feel that way about their children? But for you personally, there may be something you also give back to that big world beyond. And it may not happen until your kids are all gone, and that's totally okay. In the meantime, keep your foot in the door. All right. I think this has been great. Anything else? If you are interested in some help with writing and homeschooling, My DVDs are available and they make nice Christmas gifts. Have to do a little promo at the end here. Nurturing Brave Writer Families was our very first retreat. And these are my 5 core talks that I give when I speak. We will not do these talks again at the retreat in July. These are only done when I speak elsewhere. And this year, I only have one other time that I'm speaking. So that's what these are. If you're interested, you can buy them on the website. There are digital download format, or you can buy the DVDs themselves. And then, for those who didn't ever see it, A Gracious Space Winter is available in print and digital download. These are essays that help you sustain your homeschooling commitment for those dreary winter months. Very good choice for a homeschool friend as a Christmas or Hanukkah present, okay? Or Kwanzaa, whatever you celebrate. Okay, those are my 2 little ads. Thanks for indulging me. So let me just remind you, if you miss any of our scopes, you can go to catch.me/BraveWriter. The replays will be staying there through the end of the year, maybe into January, a couple weeks. Then we're going to reorganize and clean them up and not have them all there. So you may want to start watching them if there are ones you want to catch up on. Rebecca's asking, will I read these on scopes in January? I was thinking about it. So maybe I will. I would like to at least do that once a week and maybe twice a week. We had a discussion on the Brave Scopes Facebook group about how many times a week I should scope. And the big consensus seemed to be every day if I have the energy, which was super sweet, or twice a week. So I sort of like the compromise position. I think I'm going to do it 2 to 3 times a week. So twice a week for sure, and then maybe a 3rd time. And then if there's a week where I really want to do it, we'll do it more. But yes, we'll do some reading from A Gracious Space because that worked really well in November. And yes, read aloud with Julie, exactly. During the first 2 weeks of January, I'm having a vacation. That's going to be my time away. I will still do some work because that's just how it works for me. But and I may be scoping from my exotic location. But then when I get back, we'll work into our next scoping set of ideas. I'd like to give you a scoping schedule so you can plan on when to tune in and when to make sure you catch me live. We will most certainly do another writing workshop. Rita will be back, Rita Savasco, our speech specialist, and all that stuff. We have so many cool things planned. You can't believe it. I can't stop thinking about it. And we have a special thing happening December 26th for 12 days. I will tell you more about that when we get closer to that date. So keep that in mind. It's related to the retreat. Okay? Awesome. Oh my gosh, I so want to go to Cuba. Cuba is totally on my list. I totally want to go there. I'm actually going to see some of my sorority sisters in Hawaii in January. So that's what's fun for me. I have college friends who can put me up for free. All I have to do is get the plane ticket, so that's what I'm doing. I'm going to Hawaii. Lucky me. All right. Love you guys. This has been great, and I hope that you have a wonderful holiday. My kids are starting to stream in. My daughter, Katrin, is home already. Liam is coming tomorrow, and Jacob on Sunday. I don't know what my scoping is going to be like when they're around. Part of me wants to just fully indulge this time with my family. And so that may be what I do. But, you know, it's hard to stay off. So I'll probably see you. And if any of them want to jump on, we may get a chance to do that. I don't require it, obviously, and they're grown kids and they have their own agenda. So I will enjoy them. Thank you. It's one of the blessings of being an adult homeschool alum. I get to spend time with amazing adults. All right, then. Everybody have a great evening and a good weekend. I will see you on the Alliance if you are there. Yes, another dance party. We need one. Absolutely. I'm going to do another podcast this weekend for the Alliance. We're having great conversations there. So if you want to join us, it also reduces the price for the retreat if you sign up now. So just something to think about. We'd love to have you there. All right, everybody. Let's do our closing. Ready? Say it with me. Live honestly. write bravely. I'm Julie Bogart from BraveWriter. It is great to be with you today. Have a wonderful night and a great weekend. Bye, everybody.